is your girl Wakeji Kamore, and welcome to Reflections by Wakeji Kamore. Very first time, we are going through the book of Judges, and we are doing that chapter by chapter. Kindly stick to the end of the video, or rather uko at the end because that is where I share the lesson that I have picked from the chapter that we are going to read today. And also remember to subscribe and to hit the notification bell so that you do not miss any other upcoming video. If you've been here from the beginning, please feel appreciated. Tap yourself at the back. Yani, you are the real deal. So anyway, we are going to do Judges chapter 3 today, and I'm going to be reading that word for word. I'm going to be using the English Standard Version, which is the ESV Bible version. I'm always trying to look for like a version that is easier to read, easier to understand, so the story is just, you know, easy to grasp. So let's do that. Let's just get right into that. So now these are the nations that the Lord left to test Israel by them. That is, all in Israel who had not experienced the wars in Canaan. So there are some nations that were left in the promised land because there are some younger generations that had not experienced the wars that had happened to, you know, to take the promised land. It was only in order that the generation of the people of Israel might know war, to teach war to those who had not known it before. These are the nations, the 5 lords of the Philistines, and all the Canaanites and the Sidonians, and the Hevitites who lived on the Mount Lebanon, from the Mount Baal Hamon as far as Lebo Hamath. Please note, these are not things, the names are not necessarily names you should try and keep in your mind. Just know that there were like 5 of them that were left so that they could teach the younger generations about war. All right, they were for the testing of Israel, to know whether Israel would obey the commands of the Lord, which he commanded their fathers by the hand of Moses. So the people of Israel lived among the Canaanites, the Hittites, the Amorites, and the Perizzites. Wait, and the Hivitites as well, and the Jebusites, and maybe some Parasites. Wait, how many? So let me just read that again. So this is from verse 5. It says, so the people of Israel lived among the Canaanites, the Hittites, the Amorites, the Perizzites, the Hivitites, and the Jebusites. And their daughters they took to themselves for wives. As in, they actually took the daughters of these tribes and made them into wives, and their own daughters they gave to the sons of these nations, and they served their gods. And the people of Israel did what was evil in the sight of the Lord. They forgot the Lord their God and served the Baals and the Asheroth, which are like the idol gods. Therefore, the anger of the Lord was kindled against Israel, and he sold them into the hand of Cushan-Rishathaim, king of Mesopotamia. And the people of Israel served Cushan. I'm not going to be reading the whole name, it's so long. Cushan-Rishathaim. Let me just say Cushan. So the people of Israel served Cushan for 8 years. But the people of Israel cried out to the Lord, and the Lord raised up a deliverer for the people of Israel, who saved them. His name was Othniel, the son of Kenaz, Caleb's younger brother. The Spirit of the Lord was upon him, and he judged Israel. He went out to war, and the Lord gave Cushan, king of Mesopotamia, into his hand, and his hand prevailed over Cushan. So the land had rest for 40 years. Then Othniel, the son of Kenaz, died. So it's like the first cycle. Like, people intermarried with these nations that were left behind. Then the Lord gave them to Cushan, and they served him for 8 years, and then they cried out to the Lord. The Lord raised Othniel, who killed Cushan, and then people knew rest for 40 years. And then Othniel died. And the people of Israel, again, did what was evil in the sight of God. And the Lord strengthened Ehud, the king of Moab, against Israel, because they had done what was evil in the sight of the Lord. He gathered to himself the Amorites and the Amalekites, and he went and defeated Israel. And they took possession of the city of palms. And the people of Israel served Ehud, the king of Moab, for 18 years. So now they are under oppression again because they have gone and done what is not right in God's eyes. Then the people of Israel cried out to the Lord, and the Lord raised up for them a deliverer. His name was Ehud, son of Gera. He was a Benjamite, a left-handed man. This is actually a very important detail, that he was left-handed. The people of Israel sent tribute by him to Elgon, to the king of Moab. And Ehud made for himself a sword with two edges, a cubit in length, and he bound it on his right thigh under his clothes. Let me explain this. So when the warriors were putting on their armor, one of the things that they do is, because of course most of them were right-handed, they would put their swords on the left side. But this guy is left-handed, so it means he would put his sword or his dagger on this side because it would be easy to chamoa, or like this, for the right-handed people. So this guy was left-handed, so he put it here. So imagining that he went to see this king, which is King Elgon, the king of Moab, and he went to pay tribute to him. And when he went to pay tribute to him, I'm imagining, this is my imagination, that alifanywa terror, like alisachiwa, alifanywa search. And because they would search this side, the left side, because that's where the right-handed people would put their sword, they probably didn't check this other side, because he was left-handed and he had put it on this other side. Anyway, let me stop giving you stories of even movies. And Ehud made, okay, I've read that he made himself a two-edged sword, and he put it on the right thigh of his clothes. And he presented the tribute to Elgon, king of Moab. Now Elgon was a very fat man, and by the time the Bible is recording, you are fat, right? And when Ehud had finished presenting the tribute, he sent away the people who carried the tribute. But he himself returned back at the idols near Gilgal and said, I have a secret message for you, O king. And he commanded silence, and all his attendants went out of his presence. So King Elgon has commanded people to leave his presence, because now Ehud has said that he has a message from God for this king. And Ehud came to him as he was sitting alone in his cool roof chamber. So this fat man called Elgon is sitting somewhere in his roof chamber. And Ehud said, I have a message from God for you. And he arose from his seat. And Ehud reached with his left hand, took the sword from his right thigh, making sound effects, and thrust it into his belly of the fat man. And he hit, and the hilt also went in after the blade, and the fat closed over the blade, for he did not pull the sword out of his belly, and the dung came out. This is how fat this guy was. The whole sword went into his body, the handle went into his body, and Ehud actually just left it inside the body. Like, he didn't chamoa it. It was just like, whoop, and then, woo, not the guy, eh? Like the way like when you see in movies, someone has been shot and the bullet is still inside his body. This guy had a whole sword inside his body. That is how fat that guy was. He says, and the hilt also went in after the hilt is a handle, went in after the blade, and the fat closed over the blade, for he did not pull the sword out of his belly, and the dung came out. Let me not explain that. Then Ehud went out into the porch, and he closed the doors and the roof chamber behind him and locked them. When he had gone, the servants came, and when they saw that the doors of the roof chamber were locked, they thought, surely he is relieving himself in the closet of the cool chamber. They were like, this fat king called Elgon is probably relieving himself. So they just waited, and they waited till they were embarrassed. They waited and they, this guy is not coming out of this place. But when he still did not open the doors of the roof chamber, they took the key and opened the doors, and there laid their lord, rather that king Elgon, dead on the floor. Ehud escaped while they delayed, and he passed beyond the idols and escaped to Seirah. When he arrived, he sounded the trumpet in the hill country of Ephraim. Then the people of Israel went down with him from the hill country, and here and he was their leader. And he said to them, "Follow after me, for the Lord has given your enemies, the Moabites, into your hands." So they went down after him and seized the fords of Jordan against the Moabites and did not allow anyone to pass over. And they killed at that time 10,000 of the Moabites, all strong, able-bodied men, not a man escaped. So Moab was subdued that day and under the hand of Israel, and the land had rest for 80 days. So with the leadership of this guy called Ehud, they actually were able to defeat the Moabites, and the land had peace, or had rest for 80 years. So for 80 years there was no war, and everything was happening well. The Israelites were behaving themselves. And then this guy died. And then the next verse says, after him being Ehud, Shamgar, the son of Anath, who killed 600 of the Philistines with an ox guard, and he also saved Israel. So after Ehud, who was the judge at that time, when he died, there's this other guy who was called Shamgar, son of Anath, and this specific guy killed 600 Philistines with an ox guard. That is actually all that is written about him, and that is the end of that chapter. All right, so I could make this a lesson about how this guy, like healthy eating, and the way that people should not necessarily be this fat for a whole sword to disappear inside your body. But here in this chapter, we encounter the first cycle of sin, the first cycle, like sin, bondage, and then of course the Israelites crying out to the Lord, and then deliverance by a judge. And then there's peace, and then there's blessing, and then the judge dies, and then lastly back to sin. We actually see that whole loop in this chapter. The Israelites' problem actually begin in this chapter. And they begin with the Israelites intermarrying the Canaanites, the Hittites, the Amorites, the Perizzites, the Hivitites, and the Jebusites. This is where their problems began. From being this one chosen nation to being this whole bowl of salad, where now all the tribes, all the nations have intermarried, they're worshipping idol gods, like it's just one big mess. It is very important to hang out with the people of the same values as you. And the Bible cannot be more clear on this. Like it has said it over and over again, how important it is to hang out with people and to spend so much time, to spend time with people who have the same value as you. Let's read 1 Corinthians chapter 15 verse 33. This is 1 Corinthians chapter 15 verse 33, and it says, "Do not be deceived. Bad company corrupts good morals." I like how clear and how direct and how, and that verse is so clear that if you hang out with people of bad company, if you hang out with people who don't have the same value, you who has good values, you who has good morals, you will actually be corrupted. 2 Corinthians chapter 6 verse 14, it says, "Don't be yoked or simply do not team up with those who are unbelievers. How can righteousness be a partner with wickedness? How can light live with darkness?" I can't remember which version this is, but that I actually like how simple it is, because sometimes when you read the other versions, you're like, okay, what does exactly does being yoked mean? What does this mean? But it actually means don't team up with those who are unbelievers. So, because how can righteousness be a partner with wickedness? How can light live with darkness? You know, people have argued this verse, and they have said that, oh, Jesus dined with sinners, Jesus dined with prostitutes, with tax collectors. But remember that Jesus was 100% man and he was 100% God. So he was actually incorruptible. But me and you, we are very, very, very corruptible. So yes, it is perfectly all right and great to share your faith with unbelievers. As a matter of fact, it is highly expected of us that we share our faith with unbelievers. But it's a completely different story. It's a completely different scenario when you intermarry with the people who don't share your faith, when you intermarry with people who don't share your values, or spend every waking moment with the people who don't share your faith and they don't share your value. Remember, you and I are corruptible. We are corruptible. We are not 100% God, 100% human. We are human. And then we have the Spirit of God, but we are not God. So we're actually very, very corruptible. The Israelites basically cohabited with these nations on the same land. They went even further to intermarry with them, and they spent their daily time in their presence. They also started to worship their gods, and disaster befell them, because if you get corrupted, if your good morals get corrupted, disaster happens, and disaster starts to happen in your life. And it's unfortunate that it started with, we are cohabiting. Like, we are living in the same land. We are all mixed up now in the same land. Then it went to, oh, we have intermarried. And now it went to, oh, now we are worshiping your gods. And then disaster befell them. So what and who are you over-entertaining? That is a question or a challenge that I'm leaving behind with you. Who are you over-entertaining? Are the people who surround you people who share the same value and faith as you? Or you are the one trying to, quote unquote, save them when you made your point? Jesus, Holy Spirit Junior, when you wanna save watu sasa? Trust me, let me tell you the truth. Even the Bible says, do not be deceived. Do not deceive yourself. Bad company corrupts good morals. It is perfectly all right to share your faith with non-believers. It is actually a command. It is actually something that we have been commanded to do. But if you want to entertain them, if you intermarry with them, you will start worshiping their God, your faith will change, your values will change, because you and I are actually corruptible. Bad company ruins good morals. Thank you so much for watching, and see you tomorrow. This has been your girl Wakeji Kamore, and this is Reflections by Wakeji Kamore.